Live from our studios in Austin, Texas and Portland, Oregon, it's Syndicated with Lesley and Ben. As I lie in bed each morning and ask myself, why should I put both feet on the floor, there are precious few reasons that I've ever been able to come up with. A chance to escape Jordan's morning breath? Sure. Scotch? It's too early to drink it, yes, but people, it is never too early to think about. And of course, the ever-present possibility that I might finally happen upon Hugh Jackman and be able to give him the present that I've always been holding for him. Bam! Still, the most persuasive argument I've ever been able to come up with is the fact that I get to come here to this hospital every day and help keep people alive.
That's ironic, because 4 people just died while you were talking.
Hey everyone, it's Syndicated with Lesley and Ben. Folks, I'm the Ben of that.
And I'm the Lesley. This is a twice-monthly podcast about television, genre, and storytelling in which we watch one episode of a show and explore the history of television one episode at a time.
If you're just now tuning in, Scrubs debuted on ABC in the fall of 2001 and is a comedy drama that is a far more comedic and very 2001 take on the wave of medical drama shows that inspired it, including ER, which debuted only half a decade earlier on 1994. In 1994, even. Before we go on, are medical dramas your thing? I can't stomach them. Anytime they do blood and gut shots, we're like, quick, we need to do surgery now, cut him open. I have to tap out.
That doesn't bother me. My dad was a physician, and when I was growing up, I saw a lot of real life blood and gut stuff when I would go visit him as a very small child in the hospital, because he used to work in an emergency room. But I don't love medical dramas. There's definitely a reason why I decided to go with Scrubs as a workplace comedy, as opposed to saying, oh, well, let's wait until we do a season on medical dramas, because we're never doing that.
Yeah.
Medical dramas, we are not doing that.
I know that is one of the first genres I threw out for this show, but upon reflection, I'm like, I don't want to watch.
Nobody wants to watch that for multiple episodes. Nobody, I mean, unless it's just Scrubs, but they already have a podcast for that. They do it much, much better. It's an excellent podcast. But yeah, as far as quote unquote medical dramas go, no, not really my thing, honestly.
Yeah, I realized I didn't want to do 10 episodes of quick, we're losing him.
Yeah.
Folks, in this episode, they lost him.
They did.
In this episode, they didn't lose him. Just
Yes.
It's a coin flip. Yeah, no,
Yep.
I my mom in high school used to, back when I still lived with my parents, was the implication there, used to watch all the real medical dramas, the real life TLC. We put a series of cameras in this surgery hall or whatever. Hate that shit, because they do show real people's bodies.
The real stuff, yeah. Well, I remember distinctly there was one time it was Halloween night. Okay. And my sister and I were dressed up in our little Halloween costumes, and I was dressed as Rainbow Bright, and my sister was dressed as Minnie Mouse, and these costumes that my mom had painstakingly made from hand. And I was, 5 probably? Yeah, I was probably about 5, because my parents divorced when I was 7, I think. So I was definitely no older than 6. And so she took us to the emergency room to show our dad our cute costumes. That went about as well as you'd expect. We got to him, and he was because it was a Friday night, and he was stitching up a high school football player's chin, because his chin had gotten cut, and he was stitching it up. So I got to see all of that when I was 5 years old. So fun times.
Folks, if you know how old Lesley is and where they grew up and everything, you can find the exact hospital and you can figure out the math.
Oh my God.
No.
Yeah, I guess you could. I guess you could. If you're okay, what year was it on a Friday?
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's creepy.
I don't know. I can't stomach them, especially when they're not real life. Again, those TLC shows where they, I don't like the whole medical genre of television. Anything that's about rapid weight reduction or like, I didn't know I was pregnant shit. Don't care for any of it.
Yeah, well, because bodies are gross. Like, bodies are so gross.
The longer I can go without thinking about how we're made in any given day, the better. And sometimes I make it all the way to midnight, and then it's like 11:55. I'm like, shit, lungs.
Right? That's disgusting. There are, like, organs that we have inside of us we aren't even using. Like, what is that about?
I'll just hear my knee pop, and I'm like, oh, that's right, we're decaying.
Yep. Oh, just wait until you get to be my age. This is when it gets really fun. When you're pushing 40, that's when it gets super fun.
I'm sorry, bud. Yeah, no, but I let's see. I know Grey's Anatomy is a touchstone for a lot of people in our age range.
ER and Grey's Anatomy both.
You and I are about 10 years apart, and those shows debuted 10 years apart.
There you go. Yeah, because I remember ER. But the thing is, I never watched any of those. Because it's like you said, there's only so much you can really do. I guess the only one that I ever got into was House, probably. But that's because...
House is also very generational.
Yeah.
People, yeah, because let's see, House would have been ending as I was in high school.
Okay, when did it start? 05?
Oh, let me check for you.
06? It was 05, maybe 06. Possibly 07, but no later than that.
Yeah. House started in 2004 and ended in 2012. I did graduate. Okay, I did graduate high school in 2012. I genuinely forgot what year I was born in for a moment. Okay, so yeah. What I'm saying is, like, my friends were of the age for that kind of drama.
Right.
As that show was kind of coming to an end. So I know a lot of my friends were into House at the time. But again, just, I don't know, there's something I think inherently formulaic about, like, the way medical dramas have to work, which is just that, like, people come in, there's a crisis, they don't always know what the crisis is. They diagnose it. I mean, it is partially a procedural, it's just a more active procedural than... Mm-hmm. It's active in the moment as opposed to forensics in the past.
Yeah, and I don't know about Grey's Anatomy, but one criticism that I know has been tossed around about ER quite a bit is that because it's so long-lived, eventually they just had to do some really out there, bizarre injuries and stuff in order to maintain its freshness. And I don't care about any of that. I'm not entertained by that. That just doesn't entertain me.
No, neither am I. I know my parents were into a show that was called, like, Mystery Diagnosis or something like that. I can't remember the name of the program.
Oh, God.
Maybe I'll just text my mom for the first time in a few weeks and be like, hey,
sorry you haven't heard from me. So what you watching? Is it this medical drama? What's it called? So, I'm not really into medical dramas. However, I am extremely into Scrubs.
Yes, extremely into Scrubs.
Madly in love with Scrubs.
Well, let's get to that in just a moment. I have a little more context before I ask you that big question.
Okay.
So Scrubs was created by Bill Lawrence, who at that point was just coming off of his show Spin City, which ended in 2002, but he stopped working on in 2000. Yep. A show I've frankly never heard of before my time.
You've never heard of Spin City?
No. Before my time. I was like 5 when it came out, bud.
Okay, all right. Oh, God.
Sorry, right. Do you have fond memories attached to Spin City?
Not particularly, but I have heard of it.
Yes. I mean, I think I've heard the title.
I at least know what it is.
It's an ensemble comedy that is primarily relayed through the narration and mind of Dr. Dorian, J.D. to his friends, a recent medical resident of the fictional Sacred Heart Medical Center. It features the comedic talents of, as mentioned, Zach Braff, Sarah Chalk, Donald Faison, Neil Flynn, Ken Jenkins, John C. McGinley, and Judy Reyes. This is the effective television debut of many of these actors. Zach Braff, of course, still works in TV from time to time. Notably, he made the movie Garden State halfway through his tenure on... No, I know. His tenure on this television program. And I believe his most recent work is the 2018 canceled sitcom, let's say, Alex Inc., in which he was a podcaster by trade. And then Neil Flynn, the janitor of this show, has gone on to be the lead of The Middle, which is a extremely long-running ABC show about a Midwest family, and I want to say Indiana? Yeah, Indiana.
He also briefly was a supporting cast member of a show called Abby's, which lasted for one season and was canceled before its time, in my opinion, was excellent. But yeah, Neil Flynn, great stuff.
Oh, looks like The Middle ended last year, finally.
Oh.
Well, it concluded in 2018 and I guess wasn't picked up for 2019. That is still almost a decade-long-running show. And I know this because I used to watch it in high school.
It's what he deserves.
It's what he deserves. The Middle is weirdly conservative.
Okay. I've never seen it.
It's a little more family values oriented.
It's what we call salt of the earth television.
Salt of the earth television. Well, it's not quite prime time, comes on at like 6:30 on ABC, family oriented kind of show, which therefore makes it by its nature a little bit more conservative. Not that they're all of a sudden like, we shouldn't have to pay taxes and Obama wasn't born here. I just mean like small town vibes.
Wow.
Last but not least, the episode that we watched today was My Lunch, in which JD, played by Zach Braff, has a series of uncomfortable encounters with an old patient who ends up dying in the hospital of a presumed overdose. And Sacred Heart Hospital ends up losing 3 patients when they transplant those organs over to awaiting patients, unknowingly infecting them with the rabies that killed the first patient. Weirdly, a bit of a heartbreaker. I wasn't expecting this. I guess you did preface it to me with, this is a bit of a sad one, but it's still pretty funny.
That's like 90% of Scrubs episodes, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah. To be clear, this is a staff pick episode of ours. If you're new to the show, as you should be, because this is the first main episode. The premise is that Lesley and I are going through television, kind of one episode at a time. Not one particular show, just all of television. So we're setting each season to a specific genre. This season is workplace comedies. We're going to have a handful of episodes, more than a handful of episodes, in which guests are going to come on and make us watch an episode from one of their favorite shows, and we're going to kind of discuss it in the broader context of television and the genre, etc. But Lesley and I are going to each be doing a staff pick for each season, and I think we're actually going to do more than one staff pick, but put those up on the Patreon, in which we get to talk about episodes of our favorite shows. And I think I'm going to strategically use that to talk about shows that I know no one else is going to want to come on here and talk about.
Sure.
I like weird Canadian shit from the 90s. I don't know. So that being said, the reason I preface all of that is because this is Lesley's staff pick. Because
Indeed
Lesley loves Scrubs. Which leads me to a very important question. Lesley, why do you love Scrubs?
There are a few reasons why I love Scrubs. The first reason is, to be completely honest with you, I watched it for the first time back in 2005, I think, is when I started watching it. Yeah, 2005. And I kind of followed it along, and it has a comfort factor for me because of where I was in my life when I was watching it. Everybody has that. Objectively speaking, the reason why it's one of my favorite, well, no, it is. It's literally my favorite TV show of all time, ever. And the reason why is, despite the fact that it is a 22-minute sitcom, it has a depth to it, and it has a level of character development and a level of care put into it that you don't see in many sitcoms. And I also feel as though it is, quite honestly, one of the first sitcoms that I've ever seen to accomplish that. And I deeply love the fact that, despite the fact that it is medical in nature, and I know we just spent some time talking about how that's not my favorite thing, it's very accurate. It's extremely accurate in terms of what it's actually like to work in a hospital. And this has been said by multiple healthcare workers. My dad, who, as we aforementioned, doctor, he does not like medical dramas because they're so unrealistic, like I was talking about earlier the jumping the shark and the making things as fantastical as possible to maintain viewers. But Scrubs is very, very realistic in terms of how it portrays doctors and the things that doctors go through and the struggles, and also a lot of the silliness. While it is a comedy, so the silliness is amped up to 11, it's an exaggeration of what it's like to work as a health professional, but just barely. There are a lot. Well, because when you work with something like that every day, you definitely find ways to make it as light as possible.
You'd have to. I mean, there's that kind of observation that like funeral directors are very happy people because they have to divorce themselves from the grim, nature of their job.
Right. And I would say the final reason why Scrubs is my favorite show is because it definitely, despite being 22 minutes, I would say it's about 18 minutes of raucous laughter and 4 minutes of just crying because it can switch so quickly from having you in an amused place to having you in a very emotional place. I was rewatching this episode, and as my staff pick, I picked it because it kind of has a little bit of everything and is a nice little amuse-bouche of what Scrubs is capable of. And to be honest, I have seen this episode. I've seen the entire series at least 4 times.
Sure.
And so I've seen this episode a lot. But it'd been a while, and so when I was rewatching it to prepare for this recording, I was crying at the end. Now I'm not even rewatching Scrubs. I haven't even been built up to this point. It was straight up a standalone episode for me as well. And yeah, I was a mess at the end, despite the fact that. Go ahead.
When the events of this episode start going south, I was legitimately alarmed.
Yeah.
I was legitimately alarmed because I guess my context with Scrubs is that I watched maybe 2 seasons of it on Netflix when it first came on to Netflix 5-ish years ago. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's it. I just like, all right, well, I'm enjoying this, but like something I'm sure came up and I just switched lanes. So this is the only episode like outside of the first 2 seasons that I think I've watched. Except I'm sure maybe I caught 1 or 2 episodes of it on TBS, or Comedy Central when I was just bored as hell when it was in syndication. That's the name of the show. Yeah. So no, I guess I just forgotten the tone of it maybe because it had been like 5-ish years. But I really was not expecting, like when it started going south, I was like, well, yeah, surely they saved the patients though. They're going to save the patients though, right? Because it's a comedy, because they're going to save the patients though. No.
So I do want to say...
So 4 for 4 death in this.
Yeah, it's a 4 for 4. So actually, that's interesting. There's an episode in the first season, and it should be said, this episode is in the 5th season of the show, so everyone is really fully established at this point.
Yeah, season 5, episode 20.
There is an episode in the first season, I want to say it's the first season, where they give the statistic that's like 1 out of 3 patients dies in the ER. And so you're going through the episode, and JD and Turk and Elliot, all 3 have a patient that they're tending to. And so you're sitting there the whole time being like, one of these patients is going to die. No, all 3 of them die. They all die. All 3 patients die in that episode.
Oh, it's interesting you brought that up because I told my roommate, Andrew, who is on Legends of Laia with me, that we were watching this episode, and he asked, oh, is that the one where they say 1 out of 3 patients dies in the ER? And I said, no, it's the one where they say like there's 3 proven cases of rabies every year, so it would be absurd to test that.
Right.
And that once you start blaming yourself for deaths that you didn't cause or whatever, then it all goes downhill from there. And he's like, oh, I must have been thinking about a different episode or whatever. So by total coincidence, I was talking about that episode with my roommate not 1 hour earlier.
Oh, how funny. Yeah, it's just... Let's get into this episode. Let's talk about this episode. I want to hear your thoughts and impressions. I'm so interested in what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really know. you warned me it was a sad one. And even so, like, I was so invested in, like, the good faith of a comedy. Or, like, the good faith of, like, a... I mean, I guess you can have, like, violence and whatnot during prime time, but you know what I mean. You know, it's still pretty light. It's the stuff that's, like, after 10 that's darker.
Sure.
I don't know. I was still so invested in, like, the good faith of a comedy that I was like, oh, well, I'm glad they caught this rabies problem, and obviously they're going to be able to save everyone. And then 2 of those patients died, and you know they kind of take a little bit. The episode takes a little bit of a break to, I guess, talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. But then it comes back to, like, the 3rd patient starts to, I guess, have, like, heart palpitations or whatever, you know, heart troubles because they're defibrillating him. And I was like, okay, well, the first 2 died, but obviously this will be about them saving the last one. It'll be like, okay, well, you learned your lesson. You know, now we know, be more careful or whatever. You know, I thought it would have a more conventional... Nope.
Well, Ben, I would like to reiterate, this is the most realistic medical show that has ever been on TV.
No, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Shit like that happens all the time.
I was hoping to ask, like, what's unrealistic about... Does ER just get too soapy? Well, I guess you told me they get... Yeah.
Very soapy. And then, like, I want to say there was one episode where, oh God, like I said, I don't watch it. I just have read about it. And there was one episode,
Sure.
I want to say, where, like, they put this guy, like, there was somebody who was on a gurney, and the medevac came down and landed on the helipad outside of the hospital, and, like, the doctors are, like, treating the patient, like, on the land. Like, that's not something that would ever fucking happen.
No, that's how you get, like, fucking air pollution in your...
So just stuff like that, and it's pretty rare that Scrubs does stuff like that. Although they will sometimes do it, but it's for comedic effect, whereas ER is like a drama. So there's, like, for drama, you know, like, there's a separation there. There's a difference.
Yeah, of the medical shows that I have seen, which again is just stuff like I mentioned earlier, and now I'm realizing also, like, oh, there's that trio of Chicago shows, like Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Hospital.
Hope?
Chicago ER probably makes sense. Whatever the 3rd one is. Again, another show that, like, when I would come home from college during the summers, my parents were like, sorry, son, we need to watch all 3 of these Chicago shows.
Right.
Can't play catch. Also, you're 21, so go do something else.
Oh my God.
You know, or whatever. So I know they would watch, like, that Chicago medical show as well. And that was absolutely the formulaic thing of, like, patient comes in, they don't know what's wrong with patient. You know, they have to, 2 of them need to confer about it. Oh God, we thought it was this, but it turned out to be that. And I absolutely extremely see how in a straightforward medical drama that can get highly formulaic very quickly, especially when you checks notes run out of diseases.
More or less.
Unless a new one pops up in 2020. So, you know, I would think, and obviously this is what a lot of those shows do, is you got to make the drama about the people. You got to make it about the doctors, not necessarily the, you know, because they'll always figure it out by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I've seen episodes of that, like, that Chicago show where it's like, I can't believe you tried to take control of that surgery at the end. Don't you trust me to be able to do this? I'm never talking to you again. Hey, if you get your ego in my surgery room, you know that you're not welcome here because a patient could die during that, you know.
Right.
It's that kind of stuff. Or like, no, I loved you, but then you had to go to work. Yeah, we're doctors. You know, I don't know. These are the scripts for my the new show that I'm pitching.
Oh boy.
But, like, you got to make it about the people because, like, after a while, they don't know what's wrong with patient, but then they figure it out. And then the binary option of, and they save him or they don't save him, can only get repeated so often.
Yeah. Well, I think that what's interesting about this episode and how it handled that particular trope is in the fact that there was a lot of foreshadowing, actually. there was foreshadowing, obviously, in the joke that we quoted at the beginning, in which Dr. Turk says, that's ironic because you killed because 4 people died while you were talking, and 4 people do indeed die in this episode. And there's also foreshadowing, which is a little more in your face and a little more heavy-handed, but definitely when JD is beating himself up, and Dr. Cox, of course, is like, don't beat yourself up about this. As soon as you, what was the quote? It was like, as soon as you start
blaming yourself for deaths that aren't your fault,
there's no going back.
There's no going back. Yeah. That's it. Not all downhill.
There's no going back. And he's like comforting JD in that instance, and then of course that comes right back around in the end. And oh my God, John C. McGinley's acting. Can we just do like an entire podcast episode about John C. McGinley's acting?
I think it's this episode, Lesley.
I'm tearing up thinking about it. I'm serious, because he makes this career almost in Dr. Cox out of over-the-top, silly, long monologues, rambly lists, calling JD girls' names, all of this stuff. And it's all very silly. But, man, when he is given some serious material, John C. McGinley just knocked it out of the park. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Ben, this is not my favorite episode of all time ever of Scrubs. That episode is even sadder than this one.
Right, you told me about that, but you didn't think it would be a good episode to discuss on this show was it like because it's the finale, or what was it?
No. Honestly, the main reason is that I feel like unless you are familiar with the lore of the show, and unless you're familiar with what's going on episode to episode. I mean, it's a fantastic episode. It won John C. McGinley an Emmy. It was great.
This one did?
But no, the one that I was going to choose. Although this one could have as well, honestly, because it's sort of similar but worse. So it's an episode called My Screw Up, and anyone who is a Scrubs fan at all, if they just hear the words My Screw Up, they'll be like, why would you even bring that up in front of me? It is because it is so gut-wrenchingly sad. Not to derail too much from this conversation, but I'll go ahead and describe My Screw Up to you. So, Brendan Fraser guest stars in My Screw Up. He has been in 2 episodes prior.
Fuck.
You know which one this is now, don't you?
No, are you ready for this?
Okay,
this is the other episode Andrew was telling me about an hour ago.
Really?
Yeah.
So you already know then.
I do, but our audience sure doesn't.
So in My Screw Up, Brendan Fraser reprises his role as Dr. Cox's brother-in-law, Jordan's brother. And he was previously, in previous episodes, diagnosed with cancer. And he decided to go travel the world instead of actually handling it. And the episode is based around JD trying to get some test results to figure out whether or not Brendan Fraser's character is still sick or what needs to be done. And the B story of that episode is that they're planning Dr. Cox's child's first birthday party. So Brendan Fraser is in the entire episode as Ben, is the name of his character, as Ben, and he's interacting with JD. He's interacting with Dr. Cox, and you think the episode is fine, like you think everything is fine, and they're planning this birthday party, and Dr. Cox seems a little off, and at the very end of the episode, Dr. Cox and JD are outside together, and Dr. Cox asks something about, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something along the lines of like, where's the cake, where's the balloons, and then JD asks, where do you think we are? And as it would turn out, Brendan Fraser's character Ben has been dead the entire fucking time. And the only person who could see him was Dr. Cox, because he was straight up hallucinating because he had PTSD from it. And they were actually at Ben's funeral, and that was the thing that everyone was trying to plan, not actually the kid's first birthday party.
Yeah, that's what Andrew told me.
The saddest shit. The saddest fucking shit. And then at the very end, it's the funeral, and like you're just watching John C. McGinley's like face journey Like he doesn't have any lines. He doesn't say anything, but
Right.
he's, oh my God.
A clip I'm sure we'll post in the show notes then.
Man, God, it's so good.
It's
sure beautiful, but sad as shit.
Yeah.
So decided not to go with that one.
Thank you. Thank you for not.
You are so welcome. Even despite the fact that is my favorite episode, for robust Scrubs reasons, I would never have made that my staff pick. Instead, I decided to go with this one.
Yes, and Andrew brought that up, and he framed it like, "Oh no, I thought you would have done like the Brendan Fraser episode or something." Was his direct quote.
That's not a good entry point.
He was like, "Would you ever watch? Do you care if I spoil it?" Basically, and I said, "No, probably not. Go for it." And he told me that premise. I'm like, "Shit, maybe I want to watch those episodes though."
I'll tell you what, they are extremely good, and I watched them as they aired. Right, so I did not know it was. Well, not really. No, that's the fucked up thing is it's only 22 minutes long. It's not a two-parter. Brendan Fraser was in the previous season. He showed up a couple of times, and then you don't see him again until this episode, and it's all in one episode, and it's just so incredibly done.
Oh,
but yeah, and it's really good, and I would highly recommend you watch it. One thing I'll say is that I watched it as it aired, and so therefore I clearly had no clue what to expect. And when I tell you, I sobbed the moment JD was like, "Where do you think we are?" And the camera pans out, and you're like, "What in the blue fuck?" Because they're at a cemetery, and then it hits you. Like, they don't beat you over the face with it. They just let you have that realization for a second before they confirm it with establishing shots. Yeah, it was whew, yeah.
A rough one, bud.
Yeah, that's rough, buddy.
Well, the episode that we did watch, I think is a very good entry point. I didn't, even though again I had seen like 2 seasons of the show 5 years prior or whatever. I didn't feel I needed to know everything I needed to know before going. I don't know. I think the characters are very, very nicely established, very nicely archetyped. I can kind of guess. I mean, honestly, Dr. Cox is, this is my spicy hot take. I don't think it's actually that hot, but very much a proto Ron Swanson. The gruff, tough on you.
Also bends the rules, doesn't. I can definitely see that.
Is he just being hard on you, or does he genuinely not like you?
It's difficult to tell a lot of the time, and that's a lot of what his relationship with JD is like. I picked this episode because it has such a great balance of the drama and the heart-wrenching endings that Scrubs is known for that I love so much, and the absolute abject ridiculousness and somewhat poorly aged humor of the B-plot. So
Woof-a-doof.
Woof-a-doof! And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that throughout Scrubs as well. So, and I recognize that. I recognize that my fave is problematic. I know that it is.
All art is. It doesn't matter.
So, yeah.
Oh boy. All art is, it largely doesn't matter. You just need to know how to logically and emotionally deal with that in retrospect.
I think that it helps a lot, the fact that they do have a podcast out now where Zach Braff and Donald Faison are talking about, they're going through each episode of Scrubs and talking about it. And they're like, when they rewatch these, they're like, because they haven't watched it in 20 years or however long it's been, and they're just like, oh my, oh gracious. And so I think that the fact that it is getting acknowledged now by the actors and the creator as well, because they have Bill Lawrence on that podcast quite a lot, and so they know that,
Yeah, I mean, not to sound like, not to drop the big 2-word phrase, but the nature of political correctness changed even between 2001 and 2010 when the show stopped.
It's very true.
Has rapidly changed since 2010. But
because of social media mostly, I think.
Oh, absolutely. No, undoubtedly. Well, because there's a little more...
And for the better, obviously.
For the better, indeed. Well, because
I think let's just be clear here. We clearly think it's a great thing that these jokes have not aged well.
Yeah, here at this predominantly queer podcast network.
Right. We're not here to say like, oh, I can't these jokes anymore. Like, no, that is not what I'm saying. Not at all.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't want to use the words politically
clear.
correct, because I didn't want to make it sound like I was complaining about PC culture.
These PC snowflakes. Like, no, that's not what we're saying. We are not saying that at all.
They've stopped saying political correctness, and they now just say cancel culture. Tomato, tomato, I guess. The buzzword stopped is what I'm saying. They just found a different buzzword for the same complaint.
True.
But what I'm getting at is just like, oh no, I mean, like, obviously, like, I mean, look, that is a 2005 Ask Gay storyline.
The era of the mid-aughts had a lot of problems with bisexuality, as noted by Sex and the City and just really any other TV show that you would watch. In Buffy the Vampire Slayer, classic example of how bisexuality is clearly not a thing that exists. So on and so forth. Don't get me started. The point is...
Gang's all here, bro.
Gang's all here, bro. But the point is, 2005, 2006, that little pocket of time was very difficult for bisexual representation. It was also still pretty casually homophobic in general. Obviously pretty casually sexist. Obviously, we could no longer be overtly homophobic, and we could not be overtly sexist. It's butt of the joke, but in a different way. Right. This entire B plot, which, in case you guys haven't seen the episode, the B plot of this is that the Todd, which is the archetypal meathead surgeon who is not very bright and who constantly hits on women, like, all the time.
The Scrubs equivalent to The Office's That's What She Said.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That guy... the B-plot is that Carla and Elliot are sick of him constantly hitting on women. They then cotton on to the fact that perhaps he might be attracted to men, at which point they think that he's gay, and they convince him, quote-unquote, that he's gay. The issue is, however, that he just ends up transferring that energy that was super inappropriate towards women onto men. And so...
while also trying to get women still.
Right, while also still trying to get women. And so for a brief moment, it did seem... So here's what I find interesting about this B-plot. This B-plot does some interesting heavy lifting. Because despite the fact that the Todd says at first, oh yeah, chicks dig gay guys, and this is why I did this, and like he, does some pretty obviously some stuff that would get you so fired. So
the word bisexual does not come up in this episode.
It does not come up in this episode. However, the heavy lifting I'm talking about is in the line or in the exchange between the janitor and the Todd, in which the Todd is walking down the hallway and he's looking at women's butts and saying like, oh, nothing wrong with that. And then he sees a guy walk by and he goes, nothing wrong with that either. And then like he looks at literally everybody. And it was interesting because it was like, there was, like a more Zoftig woman who walked by. There was like an old guy. Like it was every single person he looked at was like, oh yeah, that's the stuff. And then the janitor asks him like, what the hell are you? And then he just says, I'm the Todd. And so while the word bisexuality does not appear in this episode, I think that it is pretty safe to go ahead and glean that the Todd is queer. He is a flavor of queer, some type of queer. And he's pansexual, he's bisexual, he's certainly not straight.
Yeah, sure. I guess I meant more by saying that word never comes up. It's just that we've gone from several years analyzing a show together in which asexuality was a named and strong plot point.
Yeah.
And compare and contrast with this show that came out 12-ish years prior, in which, hinted at but not explicitly named.
Right. Well, yeah, because they didn't say the B word on TV for a very long time. Nobody said that.
I feel no one listening to this needs the additional context, but obviously, gay marriage wouldn't be legalized for another decade.
Right.
We're still less than a generation away from the AIDS crisis. It's, But you all know this because we're in the same era. It's the same troubled times.
Right. So while that B plot did contain lots of casual sexism and casual homophobia,
Casual sexual harassment.
Casual sexual harassment, just a little cheeky sexual harassment, which clearly is not okay, and I would never try and advocate for in any way, shape, or form.
No one was saying
or
that.
Condone. No one's saying that, but it was an interesting direction to take that character. It was an interesting direction to take the Todd in. And I think that allowing him to be authentically queer was an interesting choice. And it doesn't really come up again in the series. Like,
really?
It was just in that one, it doesn't really come up again in any way, shape, or form. Like, he just keeps being himself, but he becomes much more like self-absorbed. Like, he talks about like how his body looks in his banana hammock and stuff like that. Like, there is definitely a mark down, like, from the overt, like, I got an Italian sausage. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
Yes.
I see what you really tried to do there. I see what you tried to do there, is what I will say about that.
Yeah. Speaking of, unless you had more you wanted to say about this particular plotline.
No.
Speaking of 2005.
Yes.
Some 2005 ass editing.
Yes.
The sound
Let's
effects,
discuss
the
this.
whoosh cuts, the I guess this is a staple of the show throughout its entire run, but JD's kind of like hypothetical scenario,
his dream sequences. His,
I guess
fantasies.
not a flashback
Yeah.
because they didn't happen, but yeah.
Yes, fantasies. Yeah.
Fantasy tangents
That's a
or
huge
whatever.
fantasy tangents. Huge part of the show. All of, like you said, the whoosh cuts. Also, the weird guitar riffs as they change scenes, like all of that stuff. It's so aggressively mid-aughts. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a one-camera sitcom. It is not scored in any sort of traditional sense. I guess most comedies, by and large, aren't. They have like those stings in them. That one episode of Of Horses and Men, we talked at length about like interstitial and sting music.
Scrubs has got it.
Yeah, when JD is handed that one chart of that patient who overdosed on cocaine, the patient that he keeps, that they think overdosed on cocaine.
Right.
The one he keeps running into at the grocery store. It cuts back to her and it just lets out like this weird kind of boom, boom, boom kind of guitar sound. That's just, it just takes me back.
Yeah. Interesting fact about that character, she was also recurring. She had shown up in a few, I want to say it was 2 other episodes as well. I'd have to look it up to be sure. But Jill Tracy was a recurring character. We already knew who she was. When she showed up on screen, if you were watching the show regularly, you're like, oh, it's Jill Tracy again.
That very much came off as a recurring guest character.
Yeah.
She's back.
Which is why it sucked so much when she died. That was terrible. But in addition to all of those, the whoosh cuts and the odd scoring and all that, which is great. Like it just takes you back to a time watching this. But I really want to point out really quickly that during this very emotional scene in which all of this stuff is happening and everything's going south, How to Save a Life by The Fray is playing. And I just want to say, yes, that song has been on every medical show you've ever watched, probably, at some point. And
save a life.
As well as lots of other shows whenever something super dramatic happens. However, this is kind of like watching Dirty Dancing for the first time and being like, oh, that's where that trope came from. Oh, that's where that super popular trope came from. Like, Scrubs did this first. Like, this song showed up on this show at this moment. Like, this was the first time that it was done.
Oh, I completely believe it, yeah. I will say that, I don't know. Boy, I'm realizing right now, as I say that these two shows were extremely parallel. And I haven't been able to watch this other show since Adam Baldwin became a noted shithead.
Which show?
Chuck.
Oh, yeah. Well, also, oh my God, I can't remember his name right now. Zach? Help me. the
Levi.
actor who plays the main character,
Levi.
Zachary Levi. Yeah, he is also a massive piece of shit. So,
Oh, is he? Shazam himself?
Yes. Shazam himself, big, huge piece of shit. Does a lot of, talks about the friend zone a lot, that kind of guy.
Oh.
We all know the type.
Unfortunate. That being said, I realized as I was watching it, I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot Chuck existed.
Oh, yeah.
Because very much, well, hey, that's another workplace comedy. We hypothetically could talk about it.
That is
I don't know
true.
if I want to,
that is
but
true.
We could.
I feel like we have a deep well from which to draw.
But I think there's a very similar kind of like, I don't know, Pushing Daisies too. Just kind of like a weirdly, weird. I mean, 2006, weirdly vibrant. Just kind of like a very like fast moving camera, very energetic editing. You know what I'm trying to say? These like strings I'm trying to draw between these three.
It's yeah, and it's like
Pushing Daisies is less manic than the other two.
Yeah, but tight dialogue, fast jokes.
Notable showrunners.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a great time capsule of television, in my opinion.
All three shows could have included Lee Pace, but only one of them was brave enough to. It has a certain energy that I don't know, I think probably kind of died in that era. Maybe there's other shows that are doing it, but it is very...
Well...
especially those whoosh cuts. The whoosh cuts and that style of editing.
Yeah, because I guess I don't really know exactly what happened, and it would definitely be worth looking into and thinking about as we are continuing our journey through workplace comedies, because I'm sure we're going to see quite a lot of this. And we're also going to see the evolution away from this into the more quote-unquote serious or realistic storytelling, even within comedy. So...
Well, because you know what comes after this? What comes after this is mockumentary format.
You're absolutely right. That was the
next
big thing.
is... During this, literally the year this season comes out, or this episode comes out, The Office hits its second season. Parks and Rec will be shortly thereafter. And while I can't name them off the top of my head, there are at least 6 other shows that try to do something similar.
Yeah, and not even just the mockumentary style, but
Confessional
also,
style, for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this era falls to the wayside. And now I think we're back to, The Good Place is neither of those.
Right, but it is interesting to see how comedy has evolved, because now you have your sitcom that doesn't have cheesy guitar riffs. It doesn't have, sound like huge sound effects when something happens. Yeah,
we largely don't have family room sitcoms anymore. Like family room 3-camera studio audience sitcoms don't really exist anymore. The notable exception is One Day at a Time.
Right.
Which is itself kind of a throwback.
Well, it's not a remake exactly, but the concept did exist in television. Norman Lear! I'm sorry, that man is amazing. I once got to watch at Austin Television Festival. There was a conversation with Norman Lear that was mediated by Katie Seagal, actually.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it was great. It was just Katie Seagal talking to Norman Lear and asking him a bunch of questions and just drawing excessive amounts of wisdom from him about television. It was dope. Anywho, he's the reason why One Day at a Time happened not once but twice. Thank you.
I'm actually realizing those kind of family room sitcoms do exist. They're just not marketed toward us.
Yeah.
Because I know CBS had because Big Bang Theory, was absolutely a live studio audience, 3-camera setup sort of deal.
Yeah, Abby's was like that. The sitcom that I mentioned that got canceled after a season that Neil Flynn was in. Yeah,
and I feel like CBS had a couple of those. They just weren't marketed toward us. They were marketed to an older audience, an older family audience, which isn't the kind of us young, average 30-year-olds are
Give or take, sure, why not?
Give or take, 32, I think, would be the middle point between us.
I think so.
Whatever. We're not looking for stories about boomer homeowners.
Right.
Or even
because
boomer
it doesn't resonate with us.
Or even Gen X homeowners. That's we're not the market for that. I know CBS had a couple, and I'm picturing it in my head. I just don't know what the name of the show was. But yeah, no, it's interesting to see, and that's, I guess, the thing we're hoping to explore with this show is we're interested to see how these kind of micro genres, micro formats come in and out of vogue.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, I mean, especially as mockumentary started to take off after this genre's dead.
Very much so. I think that if you tried to put out a show today that had some of the editing choices that were made in Scrubs, I think, well, like when you were rewatching or when you were watching it, I guess for the first time, you were texting me and you were like, "These are some editing choices." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what it was like back then in the mid-aughts." And it's just interesting. I don't think you could do that now. I think if you did it now, people would try and watch it, and I think that maybe the fact that we have so much streaming content now and the fact that stuff is so easily bingeable, I think that the difference between watching one episode for 22 minutes a week versus watching as much as you fucking want, watch it all day if you want to, finish a season in a day, doesn't matter. I think that stuff like that would get a lot more noticed a lot more easily. Kind of similar to how when you watch older sitcoms and stuff, or older cartoons or whatever, you can see where the commercial break is or where the commercial break was, like, and then after the commercial break, they briefly just remind you of what happened in the last 15 seconds before the commercial break. That's my favorite artifact of a simpler time.
Yeah, absolutely. The show that I was thinking of was Melissa McCarthy's sitcom, Mike and Molly, which ran on CBS.
Mike and Molly. Mm-hmm.
Definitely not for us.
No.
Definitely marketed to an older audience that isn't us. And as I literally just searched like CBS TV programming 2015.
Right.
Goldberg's.
Oh man, you know what though? I have heard that show is lit. I've heard
it's very good. I know my parents like it.
But I've heard it's incredible. Like my friend Tommy, who is your age, so younger than me, is super, super into it. He loves it. He thinks it's amazing. So
yeah. No, I've heard it's very good. I know my parents liked it, and I think I've seen a couple episodes myself. Similar to, well, I guess maybe a little different. Similar to The Middle, but like definitely like a, kind of a broader family comedy, more family value oriented. But I think that show does pretty interesting things with its script, if I remember correctly. Jeff Garland's in it, so I know it's good. All that to say, I just mean like, there's another family room sitcom. I don't think that's 3-camera format, but still. Anyway, we're getting.
There's Fresh Off the Boat too. I mean, like they exist.
There we go. Yeah, Fresh Off the Boat, Blackish.
Fresh Off the Boat is a great show. Okay, but we're not talking about that right now.
All right, so I'm wrong. There are family. Yeah, I forgot about Fresh Off the Boat. That was a disservice to that show on my end.
Truly.
Yeah, but certainly as we are further and further
there's a lesbian on that show.
We stand. I guess.
I mean, there's a lesbian on that show. Like, they handled this whole storyline. You can cut this whole thing out. But they handled this whole storyline, where Eddie has a crush on his neighbor, on the neighbor's kid. And she is like, I'm a lesbian. It's great. It is good times.
How times have changed from the episode that we're talking about now.
Right? Yeah. Because it's funny, too, because Fresh Off the Boat is set in the mid-'90s. So,
right,
you see...
Of course.
Yeah, it's set in the mid-'90s, and they do a great job, by the way, portraying that decade really, really well as someone who was roughly Eddie's age in those years. It was anyway. We're not talking about Fresh Off the Boat. It's a good show.
It's a good show. As somebody who was 5 in 1999, can't comment.
That's really accurate. But it's great because it's got a lesbian in it. Anywho, Scrubs.
I think that might conclude our discussion about Scrubs, unless you have anything else you want to
add. The only thing that I would like to add, I think, is that I deeply appreciate you watching my staff pick. And I was looking so forward to your thoughts, and you did not disappoint.
Hell yeah. Then I'm very excited to talk about whatever show I'm going to pick for my staff pick. I am torn between the Larry Sanders Show, which is Gary Shandling's sitcom they did with Rip Torn and Jeffrey Tambor. Speaking of assholes, which is a satirical take on the 90s talk show wars, Leno and Letterman and Arsenio Hall and all that. From the perspective of Gary Shandling, who do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, our audience might not. Modern listeners, the guy who whispers Hail Hydra in Winter Soldier.
Oh, shit. He is.
Yeah, he's the guy who's like, Tony Stark, could you take this seriously during the congressional hearing?
I literally forgot that was him.
Yeah, rest in peace, Gary Shandling. Passed away like 3 years ago.
Totally forgot.
Yeah, I'm quite a fan. I think I'm either going to do that or I'm going to do the Righteous Gemstones, which is that show about John Goodman being a mega pastor.
Oh, damn. Those are both good choices.
Anyway, but I think that concludes our Scrubs talk. Thank you very much for joining us for the first, mainline episode and the first of our first season of Syndicated with Lesley and Ben. Folks, I was the Ben of that. You can find me online at Ben C. Hamlin. That is BenChamlin. Over on Twitter.com, where I am always talking about, this kind of bullshit by and large. Lesley, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter as well at Vanetti, Vanetti, where, once again, I'm talking about pretty much this. I would say TV shows, occasionally helping some friends out who draw some great things, showing you some beautiful art, maybe having some bands with Richard Marx. You never know.
You really do never know. You can find us both at Infinity Break 23. That is the social media account on both Instagram and Twitter of the company that puts out this very show, infinitybreak.net, where we're telling stories our own way. You can check out all of our other shows, including my other podcast, Parascience, right there at infinitybreak.net. If you like this show, oh my God, if you liked what we just did. It is so crucial in the very beginning that you write reviews, tell your friends, 5 stars on any platform. You can give us 5 stars. Subscribe, download, all that jazz. The early days of any podcast journey through the algorithm is essential for getting it a lot of attention early on. That will rocket us ahead in ways you can't even imagine. So please, if you liked what we just did here, 5 stars on whatever platform you can, and please do tell your friends. If you liked Of Horses and Men and you wanted us to talk about shows that weren't BoJack Horseman, this is your chance to enable that to happen.
Absolutely. Let us know what you want to hear.
Yeah, let us know what you want to hear about. If there's particular shows or particular, genres that you want to hear about.
Yeah, because we're still open. We're still open on genres. We've got this season locked, but we don't really have any, any plans after that. So if you have a genre that you are just dying to hear about, we want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, adult animation, living room sitcoms, medical shows, maybe not medical shows.
Not medical shows.
Procedurals, whatever else. Please do let us know what you're looking forward to. And hey, you know what? Tell us maybe your favorite TV show of this era, or maybe your favorite Scrubs episode.
Yeah, I want to hear all your Scrubs thoughts.
If you want to talk to us about Firefly, speaking of 2003 ass shows.
Aww.
Star Trek Enterprise, Smallville, what a time. Anyway, folks, all of that at Infinity Break 23. Please, you know what? We have a Patreon at patreon.com/Infinity Break, where we put out bonus content from this show and all Infinity Break shows. You can start donating there for as little as $1 a month. I think that's absolutely everything. Once again, this has been Syndicated with Lesley and Ben. We thank you very much for giving this show a chance. We highly encourage you to support it in whatever way you can. Yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time with more workplace sitcoms. Thank you very much.
Thanks, y'all.
The show you've just been listening to was Syndicated with Lesley and Ben, featuring Ben Hamlin and Leslie Yates. Our logo is by Terra Bosart, and our theme song is by Mandra Sigma. You can check out all of our work at infinitybreak.net, where we're telling stories our own way. Thank you very much for listening.